Hey, welcome back, my dudes. We've been talking about immigration the past couple of days. This afternoon, as a matter of fact, we were talking just about how the Statue of Liberty was a symbol of freedom and better things to come for people who came here. Tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about immigration. And it's a little bit more in depth. Why, in fact, did they come here? And we're going to be answering the following questions. We're going to be looking at why they came here in the first place, why Ellis Island was used as the main point of entry, as opposed to anywhere else. We're going to look at why we have such a romanticized view of what it really was. We're going to be looking at how the immigrants were processed, what happened to them when they actually got here. Here is Ellis Island. This is the main point of entry for immigrants who came to the United States between, say, 1852 and 1954 when it closed. We had about 5,000 people a day come through this, for a total of roughly about 12 million people coming through here. So what is it that drew people here? I mean, we all talk about this, and I know a majority of us come from families of immigrants, and we all have our various reasons why we came here in the first place. And of course, it's always for a better life. Better life? What is that? What is this better life that everybody was trying to seek out that, we look at another country, oh, it must be better over there. So let's think about for a second, what are these things that either we're trying to get away from or we're trying to join up with? As we discussed in the Great Migration episode, that we said that there were push and pull factors that made people go and come. Same thing here. You're switching countries, you're moving place to place. We have push factors that are going to push you out of your country and pull factors that are going to pull you into the other one. So let's think about this for a second when we talk about this whole concept of a better life. Better life is a really, really broad term, and I say this a lot. When you say a better life, it's a big thing, but it's made up of a lot of little things. For example, one reason, better jobs. Maybe the job you had back in Ireland or Russia or Italy or Scotland or Germany or one of those European nations that you came from wasn't so hot. Maybe you were a farmer, wasn't so great. Came here, maybe you had a chance, if you had some money, to own your own business, maybe start up a new beginning for your family. You have more opportunities here. As you would hear, the roads are paved with gold in America, of course, which we all know is incorrect. We all know that that's just a figure of speech to say that there are more opportunities here. If with hard work and effort, you could make something of yourself. But there are opportunities for success. You came here for religious freedom. I mean, this is the original reason that everybody came here from England in the first place when we became a country, was for religious freedom. Fleeing political persecution. If you weren't part of political parties in certain countries, they threw you in jail, they beat you up, they killed you. To get away from that, they came here too. Maybe you lived in a place where there was a lot of disasters, like earthquakes or tornadoes or hurricanes or whatever the case may be. A lot of diseases and famines. And you wanted to just get somewhere where you thought there might not have been. So we left our home country and came here. It's not like we decided one morning, hey, it's Monday morning, let's move to another continent, one that we don't speak the language in. This is one of those things that is going to take some time. It's not just going to happen overnight. I mean, people came here for a variety of reasons. We have this idea that it was just going to be given, and we're going to hear over and over again throughout this entire unit that we talk about in immigration, that what you expected, your expectation is going to be different than what the reality of the situation is. I mean, the expectation was that it was just going to be easy and it was going to be given. Hence the phrase, the roads are paved with gold. It's just so easy. We can make money. We can do whatever we want. We can have an awesome, grand life in America. But when you get here from Russia, Germany, Italy, Scotland, England, you're going to find out differently that it's not exactly what you think. Maybe the grass looks greener on the other side, but maybe it's not greener once you get there. Why an island? Interesting question, right? I mean, I think about it all the time. When we go, why an island? Why would you choose an island? I mean, obvious reasons. I mean, it's easy to control because it's right out there by itself. Right? You could control riots easier if there are any. You can control what goes in and what goes out. It's easier to separate the people that are coming in from the people that you're sending back. It's easier to separate the people that are coming in from the people that are already there in the mainland of America, in the mainland of New York. This is an island in the middle of New York Harbor. It's easier to contain illnesses if people bring an illness with them from their home country. Smallpox, influenza, you name it. It's easier to contain on an island than if you let them all just magically flood right into New York. Okay, so we have all of this stuff that we got to think about. Why people came. It's not exactly the easiest trip you're ever going to make in your life. It's at least a 3-month trip, maybe more, by ship. And it's a harrowing journey, too. I mean, we have this romantic view of Ellis Island, the gateway to the New World. But was it really that much of a gateway? It was a gateway to those who were let through it. We have this view that this was such a grand place to go. It was so beautiful and great, and it was the entry to the land of the free and the home of the brave, and all of these ideas that we had. Once you get to this place, you realize that this romantic view of what a lovely building this is, and oh my God, I'm going to get into America now. It's not really what exactly is going to happen. That's, again, expectation versus reality. Expectation is this grand, lovely place. Reality is that vicious smack in the head that I like to call it. That wake-up call that says, hey, wake up. That's not what you think. Okay? Now, contrary to what most people think, immigrants back in the 1800s, early 1900s weren't just allowed to walk right in and waltz down Broadway. Off the boat to Broadway. No, not at all. That was not the case. We look at a process of people getting in here. How did they process them? What did they do? How did they make sure that each one of these people was somebody that they wanted here, that they deemed to be acceptable to the country, that thought they were going to be a help? Which one of these 5,000 people per day that came through this island were going to be allowed to come into the country? But through medical tests to find out if you had any sort of infectious disease that might infect everybody else. Typhoid fever, smallpox, influenza, you name it. If you looked even remotely sick, bye-bye, you're going back. See you later, dude. Right? I know it doesn't sound fair. Now we have the medicine that we can handle this. Back then they did not. You had to take a literacy test, and often people who came here couldn't read in their own language either. So that was kind of not such a fair thing either. It kind of brings us back to when we were talking about the Great Migration a few days ago, where in order to vote, freedmen were given a literacy test, which obviously they couldn't pass. Same thing here. You're given a literacy test, and if you can't read in your own language, oh well, you're out. Although there were ways that people got around this. They sent their children in who learned first, and then would tell them the answers to the questions before they moved on, so they would be able to come in. So far we have 2 tests. Medical test, about tests for mental illness. Nowadays we know that you can be a productive member of society with a little medication and a little help. You could be a productive member of society. Back then, they didn't want anybody with anything wrong. Anybody with what they perceived to be issues. If they noticed that you were a little bit off, if you were different than they were, you were back. Bye-bye on the boat with the people that are sick, with the people who failed the test. Out. Goodbye. we don't want you. A criminal background check, I think, is probably one of the most important checks you can make. If there was any criminal activity in your family, or you were convicted of a crime, say you were trying to leave Italy or England because you had this string of crimes behind you, bye-bye. You're out. If you were even suspected of being any sort of criminal. I mean, if we look at it from this point of view, that we're thinking about, immigration and why did people come, there were 70 points of entry in other places. 80% of all of the people who came to this country came through New York, came through Ellis Island. 12 million people over that time period, from the time it opened up in 1892 to the time it closed in 1954. 12 million people. My question I'm going to leave you with right now is, what would this country have been without those 12 million people who came in? Think about that. Thank you for joining me tonight.